Hello and welcome to Stage Makeup with Kyla. If you're watching this in sequential class order, this is the second one, Extreme Lean. Start by getting your hair out of your face. Get your hair out of your way, pull it back, and use a headband or clips to get it completely out of your way. Headband. Start with a clean face and definitely clean hands. Wash your hands now and always. Put toner on your face to close your pores. Any kind of brand of toner will work. I've been using this botanical blend. You could use witch hazel, you could use rose water. Whatever is going to work with your skin. The name of the game today is Extreme Lean, making the face look longer and more narrow. This isn't to be confused with corrective makeup, though often the aesthetics of supermodels would have us believe as such. Your research should be beyond what is popular contemporarily, and your schematic should indicate perhaps an emaciated, really elongated, skeletal look. Have your schematic and your research in front of you. My research is narrow jaws, exaggerated cheekbones. And to start with base. Make your base color slightly darker than your natural skin tone because darker things recede. You could do this with the Ben Nye Cream Color Kit or the Kryolan Super Color Kit. And choose or mix together to blend a color that's a little bit darker than your natural skin tone. I'm gonna use this one. Start with an even, smooth coverage of base all over your face. The sun is setting. If you can achieve this with a brush, that's fine. I recommend a sponge. Put the base everywhere that you're going to put makeup, including your lips, your neck, and if you've thought ahead and worn a shirt that permits it, you could put this makeup over your collarbone. I'm going to show you some techniques to make it look like your collarbone is protruding from your skin, which adds to the overall skeletal, extremely lean look. Blend the base into your hairline. All right. Now it's time for highlight and shadow. For this one, I'm going to start with the shadows. So I'm going to use this 1/2 inch wide acrylic paintbrush, and I'm going to use the darker shadow color. You could use the character shadow if you're using the Ben Nye kit. There's two ways to use shadow to make your forehead look more narrow, to make your temples look sunken in. One way to do it is to put shadow on the side of your forehead, angled down. So this is imagining the plane of your face. When we made Extreme Stout, we made it look like this was coming forward. Now we want to make it look like this is receding. We'll go back and blend the edges of that. And in fact, I think I could take it in a little bit further to make the forehead look even more narrow. Another option is to highlight a sunken in temple. So your temple is the space above your cheekbone, below the bones of your forehead. And if you think about or look back to the picture of the skull, this is the indentation on the skull. Two ways to do it. Choose one and be consistent with it. I'm just showing you both ways. To make your eyes look sunken in, darken the shadow surrounding your eyeball. Add shadow surrounding on your eyelid, circling where your eyeball is. To make your nose look longer and more narrow, and to accentuate the bump on the bridge of your nose, this will help making your nose look narrow. Some people naturally have a bump right here that's very pronounced. Some people don't. We're going to make it look like you do with makeup. So draw the shadow in, out, in again, and then straight down on both sides of the nose. So from the eyebrows, curving in, curving out, curving in again, and then straight down. And then blend that shadow on the side of the nose into the base at the point where the nose connects to the face. And you can take it into the eye socket and up towards the eyebrow as well. To exaggerate the cheekbones, feel where your cheekbones naturally are. Some people naturally have higher cheekbones, some people don't. Imagine that light is hitting just the very top of that cheekbone. Here's where the bone is, and then here is where you're going to put the shadow, under the cheekbone. So it's a diagonal line from the hairline towards the mouth, stopping about the center of the pupil, and then pointing in a jagged way straight down. Add more shadow depending on how long your face is. Maybe it's a half an inch, maybe it's 3/4 of an inch, maybe it's an inch. If it's a little bit higher up, it'll make your cheekbones look a little bit higher. Might get away with doing it a bit higher here. Only in very exaggerated lighting, very dramatic or extreme lighting, will this shadow here make sense. But try looking at your face in different lights. Look at your face in the overhead light of your car late at night. That's a way to see a lot of shadows on your face. So it's a diagonal line from your hairline going towards your mouth and about the center of the pupil pointing down. I feel skeletal already. To make the jaw look more pronounced and pointier, if you have a naturally square jaw, cut the square off with shadow. For me, I naturally have more skin hanging down from my jaw. I'm going to cut that off with shadow. So I can feel where my actual jaw is, and I'm going to trace shadow along just under my jaw, over the skin that's hanging down there. I'll go a little higher up there too. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and use a wider acrylic paintbrush and a little bit more shadow to blend that downwards so that it's not just a stripe, but it's a line that blends into nothing at the neck. Yeah, pointy jaw. All right, now it's time for the neck. Going back to the shadow, I'm going to pull the face to accentuate the tendons of my neck. I'm gonna press my shoulders forward and wince so that these tendons become apparent. Everyone can do this to varying degrees. If your tendons don't stick out that much, don't worry about it. But if you can make them stick out, then accentuate them by drawing shadow where the natural cast shadows are. If you have an Adam's apple, you can draw the shadow around the Adam's apple, or you could put shadow over the Adam's apple to make it disappear. If you don't have an Adam's apple, you could simulate one in with shadow around and highlight in the middle. Everyone's different. So I've laid in those shadow positions, and now when my neck is kind of relaxed, I'm going back and blending them. All right, now collarbone. If you press your shoulders forward, yeah, you could maybe make this bone here stick out. Some people's naturally stick out more than others, but it's a matter of pressing your shoulders forward and then putting the shadow. You can see the light is hitting it here and the shadow is above and below it. I'm gonna extend this shadow into this whole hollow here behind this muscle. There's another muscle back here, your trapezoid. Is that the trapezoid muscle? Connected to. If you press in, you could feel where the top of that bone is, and with the shadow to emulate around the top of that bone. What's happening here is I didn't put the base low enough, so it's harder to blend the edges of this. That's why be careful to put the base everywhere that you're going to put highlight and shadow. It's still gonna work though, still looks pretty skeletal. Yeah. Now highlight. Let's start at the top. So I'm going to put a highlight on the two outside edges of the forehead in a straight line to make the forehead prominent. I'm going to put highlight on the center of the eyelid in kind of a circle where the pupil would be when your eye is open. I'm going to highlight carefully in between the shadows on the nose, so it looks like light is hitting the top of the nose. I'm going to highlight just on top of the cheekbone, where light is hitting the top of the cheek. This can be like half an inch to an inch wide, blending. Make sure that there's space between where there's highlight, base, and shadow. For this, I'm using another half-inch wide brush. I think this is one that came with the Krylon kit, but an acrylic paintbrush is fine too. So the shadow is a diagonal line from the hairline pointed towards the mouth. This highlight. Super skeleton! On the jaw, I'm going to put the highlight on top of the jaw, just above where the shadow is, as if the jaw is protruding. On the neck, I'm going to wince in the same way and put highlight where those tendons are standing out. Yeah, the neck looks really cool. I'm going to press my shoulders forward and put highlight in the center of the collarbone. where light is hitting the top. This is similar to the drawing of the cylinder. I'm going to go back with the wider acrylic paintbrush and blend all these edges. So here where it's a sharp line, blending that into the base, still keeping it so the darkest part of the shadow is in the center of the shadow, but blending it so that it's not too sharp of a line, but a smooth transition from base into shadow. It's possible to do this with a 1/2 inch wide brush, but it's faster with the wider brush. On the nose, I'm just going to gently blur the lines on the outside of the temple, blending the shadow under the cheek up to the base and down to the base, keeping space for this highlight. Looks like I could use a little more blending here. You want to blend until all visible brush strokes are gone so that it doesn't look streaky at all, ideally. So blending the shadow into the base, blending the highlight into the base. Yeah, collarbone. Next up is lips and rouge. To make the lips look more narrow and to attribute to the overall sickly look, I'm going to do not pink but brown. And I'm going to draw the lips in more narrow than the actual lips are. This might be a good place to use the pencil too. The brown pencil that came with the kit. Oh yeah. Turns out pencil was easier than the cream color there. So I'm drawing it like halfway onto my actual lip. Especially when I smile, my lips look and feel so thin. I hope that you're similarly delighted by how it feels. It feels weird. Now rouge. Actually, we'll do rouge very last. Let me double check my notes. Blend. Shadow temples, shadow hollows of cheeks, shadow sides of nose, accentuating the bridge of the nose. Deep shadow around the eyes. I didn't blend too far on the eyes because my eyelids are naturally oily. If yours are, then that's an advantage because they blend easily. Thin lips. Highlight the bridge of the nose, the top of the cheekbones. Rouge follows the cheek contour. We're going to do that last. All right, so everything is in place. I'm happy with how it looks. I'm happy with how blended it is. I'm going to set it with powder. So I'm going to press translucent powder in to set the cream color in place and also to slightly soften the look. And if I find that it softens it too much, I'll go back and add more contrast of highlight and shadow. So for this look, as with Extreme Stout, we're not concerned with accentuating anything on the eyes or the eyebrows. We're just concerned with the technique of making the whole face look longer, leaner, more narrow, more skeletal. Pressing the powder in everywhere that we put the cream color. And then finally, rouge or blush. We don't want to put too much because for this sickly character, they wouldn't have too much color in their cheeks. We're going to use the fluffy brush that came with the kit and the pink powder color. And this is going to follow basically in between the highlight and the shadow, maybe a little bit up onto the highlight, a diagonal line along the cheeks. Finally, another thing to add length and width to the face, yes, bobby pins on hand, is the hair. I look very scary. So, as with Extreme Stout, you made the hair really wide because we're adding width. Now that we're adding length, If you have the ability to add a little bit of height narrowly on top of your head, careful not to make it too wide. In any way, if you have a short hairstyle, this could be possible. And then I'm going to pull the rest of the hair back sharply, severely. Look how narrow my face looks! Again, you're not accustomed to looking at my face, so it might not look extreme to you. I hope that you find when you do this to your own face that you're surprised by how narrow and lean it looks.